there's a lot of entrepreneurs out there. So, in the early part, there has to be some entrepreneurs who go out of the way, find access to capital in non-conventional ways. And as things goes, you will find that whole ecosystem getting built up. When there's a lot of entrepreneurs, venture capitalists will arrive. Right? I mean, I think there are enough and more venture capital companies who globally provide funding. That would be initially something which you would find challenging. If you want to really have a grand plan and want to really quickly accelerate, finding access to the capital might be not that easy. Having said that, and there's no reason why, if you have a great idea, that you can go and raise money in the US, in the UK, any other part of the world. Right now, it doesn't have to be here that you need to raise money, right? And if your idea is global in nature, if your idea has a global appeal and a significant potential to turn into a great business, you just don't have to look only in Sri Lanka.
There's elsewhere to look at, and as you said, world is becoming a fatter place.
Absolutely.
So in the same context, if you look at it, you said it's a chicken and egg situation, that you have to have more entrepreneurs than more venture capitalists. So is there any concrete steps that have been taken to make it a more investment friendly climate and more incentives being given? Do you want to elaborate more on those aspects you touched on before?
Sure. Yeah, I think from an entrepreneur side, I think there's work to be done to create that whole ecosystem, as I spoke about earlier. From an incentive side, especially if you look at IT BPO companies, there are several pretty good incentives in place from a tax point of view, and from a especially from a tax point of view. I think we need to work on being able to do business a lot more easily. Ease of doing business in Sri Lanka, I don't think rank too well. We need to work on those kind of areas. Incentives is something that we need to continually focus on, right? And if you look at countries like China, for example, there are some really very, very attractive incentive schemes to attract BPO players, IT players. So we need to benchmark our incentives continuously with the rest of the globe, because we are competing with other countries who are equally going after the same pool of entrepreneurs, same pool of companies to attract them, right? So as a nation, we need to be competitive in that space, and we see countries like Egypt, countries like Philippines, continuously evaluating their appeal, and they're very aggressive about promoting their countries to attract IT BPO companies to their country. So we have tough competition, right? And then we need to be able to keep the pace and keep on benchmarking and providing that that environment.
So do you think government is doing enough in terms of actually when it comes to incentives and also creating this eco-friendly system where you also encourage the BPOs and the innovation? Do you think government is doing enough?
I think that more can be done. As always, there is there's a fair deal of collaboration going between government and the industry. I think I think it's early stages for us, and I think the focus predominantly has been for many years to resolve conflict. Now that as we come out of it, I think we have a tremendous opportunity to look at that. I'm very hopeful, and the government will come forward and work a lot more closely. And we've worked with some of the agencies. Even during the conflict time, they were very positive about it, right? Obviously now we have a lot more focus, and there is a economic agenda president has come up with, and IT BPO industry fares very highly on the economic agenda, and we hope to collaborate a lot more closely and take that forward.
So if you look at this strategy that is launched, an initiative by the government, does SLASCOM also have got a close link with this strategy initiatives? East Sri Lanka, yes? Yes,
the East Sri Lanka initiative that ETA has pioneered, and I think it's a world-class initiative. There are many many countries now looking at that as a role model. There were a lot of companies, SLASCOM member companies, have worked in some of these initiatives. For example, Vitusa has involved in building some of the e-services. Some of the first e-services was built by Vitusa. Likewise, there are many other companies who have helped build that vision or reality, right? And so there's from that point of view, there are a lot of work going on, and in terms of even strategizing and envisioning that roadmap for Sri Lanka, ICTA has been collaborating with a lot of industry and bringing that industry best practices into it. So I think there's a lot of good work being done. I think that's really a very pioneering effort.
So in SLASCOM, what is the membership like? How many companies are members of SLASCOM?
SLASCOM right now have over 100 companies who are, all the leading companies are members of SLASCOM, and pretty much good 90% of the industry, key players who build the revenue are members of the members of SLASCOM.
So if you look at other countries, like we take our neighbor India, and what sort of relationship should we have in terms of IT, because I think they can be a really big competitor as well.
Right.
But in terms of investment, maybe we can collaborate in other ways. So how do we go about collaborating with India?
Right. Yeah, I mean, you can't talk about IT without talking about India, I guess. We don't look at India as a competitor, right? And I think it's be probably foolish to look at India as a competitor. Right? We look at India as a great source, a great market, first of all. Right? A lot of our products and ideas can take into Indian market. We have a billion people right next door. Right? And it's a fantastic market for many companies who have taken their products to market. And similarly, Sri Lanka can be a great sourcing destination for IT companies in India to come and set up. And then we've started seeing companies coming from India to set up their sourcing delivery operation in Sri Lanka. And as recently as last week, there was one large Indian company came and set up in Sri Lanka. So we see a lot more of that happening. More Indian companies coming and setting up their operations here, and more Sri Lankan companies going out there to access India as a great market. Indian market is expanding exponentially, and I think that provides a tremendous opportunity for Sri Lankan entrepreneurs. So I think it works both ways very well, and we learn a lot from India as well. There's Indian IT industry has done tremendously well. There's a lot of lessons that for us to take, and we very closely look at what they do. We collaborate with them. We bounce some of our ideas with them. So I think there's a lot more synergistic approach that we have to play, and that's what we have been doing.
So that is talking about India. Now, if we talk about Asia as a whole, and in terms of potential to grow, growth potential wise, which country do you think has the sort of greatest potential in the IT BPO industry?
Right.
In Asia, I'm referring to.
Outside of India?
Outside of India, yes.
Right.
In Asia.
I think outside of India, I honestly feel Sri Lanka has a tremendous potential. If you really look at maybe outside of India, countries like Pakistan has done decently well, and among other SAARC countries, maybe next to Pakistan, Sri Lanka is probably the third in the ranks, and with conflict going on, having challenges in Pakistan and so forth, they will have the similar challenges of what we had in the past. So I think our floodgates are open. I think we have a clear skies from an industry point of view. So I see outside of India, Sri Lanka definitely has the potential to be the number one in this space, and to really leverage this industry to become significant industry for Sri Lanka.
That's a very hopeful note to actually take a small break now. So we'll take a small break and we will be back with you soon.